Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the canyon. Welcome back to the second episode of the 59th Came from the Workbench installment. Remember? Think back when I said I'm just going to put the box over there. And then I did. Haven't touched it at all. We still don't know what the steel chassis rails. We still don't know what we're going to run power plant wise. I don't know if we're going to go entirely by what it looks like clearance wise. That is the way we're going to do it. Shiny. I like the little Scrooge and Marley counting house. There's an ant in the box. There's an ant in everything. We're just overrun. We're overrun. Outnumbered 1,000,000,000 to 1. What would you expect? We're going to build us mostly a comp fox. We're gonna build primarily. I should have left the box open. You're absolutely right. We do have a theme and a process. You can employ it if you would like, which is when we cut open our plastic bags, and we'll cut open a great number of them, take all of those bags and throw them in the open box, and all of your sprue trees and everything. And then we hope against hope that it doesn't happen. But if it does, you just look through the box and you can find that screw that went missing. This is unusual. I almost just did it right there. This is unusual. They use these big, Element loves these, the big head guys. They love them on axle ends. They love them to hold servos down. They actually attach all of the bits to the chassis. And, oh my goodness, prepare your body for the squint. Like, that's the second row, front three, it looks like. And then it's this guy pointing forward. We will do this the simplest way. So it looks like it's there and there. So even if you have the Gorilla Grips, which I do, the driver insert in between thy finger pinchers is a great way to do it, because it will at least help you stop you from over tightening everything into oblivion. Now, can I Gorilla Grip things to the point where I do it by hand and then I can't get it off without a full driver? Sure. I do it all the time. It does look like that. I like this color. Everybody likes that bronzy color, right? Bronzy is a good color. This is going to be one of those builds that would be assemblies. No, we can call this a build because we've opted to go our own way, If you were just building this as the kit, there's not going to be anything, second row, top row. There's not really going to be anything that stymies you, in my estimation. Because elements are really quite straightforward. And even when building the portals, you're just building the same axle twice. There is no front nor rear axle. I believe I'm trying to recollect. I believe the recollection was I said that I would like to do this CMS. And I'm still going to take a look at it, if only for one reason. On a build that I was working on just a little short time ago, I just removed an element panhard mount. And there is a takeaway. There's a reward of feeling that comes over you, that washes over when you get CMS right. When you get it to line up and all of the parts work together and the vehicle steers and it doesn't bump steer and it doesn't do weirdnesses, you go, I did that. I did that. And we have to do it to an uncomfortable degree because there are entirely too many platforms out there that, new and fresh out of the package, don't have their geometry sorted out. And we would be willingly and voluntarily doing it to ourselves. I just saw the pinch on this. Good gravy. Look at that. These two radically different lengths. Yeah. They really pinched that rear end. And then, for whatever reason, they don't have us put those two rods and 4 screws on. They're like, loosely put your chassis together and then set that aside. Okay, thank you. Because next up, you're going to build the gearbox. Bag 3, 215.8 grams. I'm honestly kind of looking forward to bag 3 because this is my first time experiencing Element's very own. Oh, I don't want to cut that yet. The spacers will roll away. Their very own forward motor mount. And I love a Stealth X. You know this. You can tell the trees. You can tell the trees come together because there's actually no physical way to put this cover on that FMM. So we'll cut it off nevertheless. Throw the sprue into the box. That will go in the drawer of stuffs because we throw nothing away. Pinion is in 18. But I think they changed the spur, right? Yeah, 78. That's not a lot. I don't know if that's really well and truly enough to counteract the amount of additional gear reduction of pairing portals to a Stealth X. We may stumble into another one of those instances where I want 2654. 2753, basically never used. That is the 6.5%. Basically don't use it. 2852, 2654. I've had people ask me, what do I think about Hot Racing or others about the machined gears for Stealth X's? And the short of the long of it is, it's not necessary. You don't need it. I have never lost a gear in a Stealth gearbox. What I have done is, in the Divine and Infinite Wisdom, it shouldn't be an issue here because we have a flat skid, but in the Divine and Infinite Wisdom of Element, you have this screw and this screw that go into the bottom of the gearbox, right? And if you'll notice where the line of that screw is and where the line of that screw is, this gear will be sitting right there, just like that. And if you should happen to put, when they go through the skid, one of these screws is I want to say is a 14 and the other one's a 10. If you do this, the 14 will go right through, right into the nylon teeth. If you've never done it, I hope that you never do it. But I've done it. A buddy of mine did it, and he was like, it was working great, and now it sounds like somebody threw a handful of marbles into a blender. And I go, oh, when you put your rig back together, you put the screws in the wrong way. And he goes, I don't think I did. And I go, it ain't about thinking. It's definitely more about that's exactly what happened. Source, I've done it. And I wish I could say that it's one of those things where you only do it once. But we do indeed let our relative guards down quite often. Don't do what I'm doing. In this instance, do as I say and not as I do. I do not recommend that you take a power driver and just hog these 2mm screws in here. If you've done it, if you've built more than your fair share of stealth gearboxes, by all means, go for it. If you have MIP drivers, if you're using any... Did you buy your driver set on Amazon? Was it $8.99 for like a whole box of wrenches? You don't want to do this. Anything with the trusty old 1.5 driver, you can do bad things. I don't want you to do bad things. I want us to only do good things together. And particularly when you tighten down this side, because it has to go through the fat chunk. This is the 54, right? As he double checks to make sure he didn't assemble it wrong. No, this is the 54. You're putting a much longer screw in, and this one I will cross tighten. We'll go back and forth. We're going to build a Comp Fox, honestly, even at a leisurely pace. And building a Comp Fox at a leisurely pace is still going to get it done fairly quickly. We don't have to build the axles. I am not going to bore you with the assembly of more than one shock. We will show you the process of assembling an element shock. Do they come? Are these fully disassembled? Yes, they are. Yes. It's a throwback to the old school, kicking it old school, where they don't even bother to put in the seals. A lot of places are pre-installing the seal packs, and I'm not mad. I'm never mad about a shock that does not have the seal pack installed. I can take care of that myself. You get it, and I have my torque clutch set at 11, which is way too high. I'm using the built-in clutch, the person clutch, and this is stuff where, like, once I know for what top shaft we're building it for because there's the thin side and the thick side. Once I know which side the 52 is going on, I almost stop paying attention to any included instructions, because it's a Stealth X, and if you've built a Stealth X, you built a Stealth X, at least until we get to the forward motor mount, which I feel like if we do try to stick with chassis mounted steering, and that chassis mounted steering is going to rely on our ability to fit something to mount a servo. Well, we can, you know what we can do? Coming up here in a moment, we can check really quick whether or not it's going to fit. Because if this width is too wide for a standard servo tray, and by standard, I basically just mean a servo tray I have on hand, then we're going to be like, ain't worried about it. Also, the beauty of this center right here is it's not handed in any way, other than we're going to put two different sized gears on it. We're going to put a 28 and a 26, but we can just blindly slap them together like this. They're kind of easy to tell apart. One's a bit big. Focus, thank you. One's a bit bigger than the other. The 28 and the 52 always mesh, and the 28 always meshes with the 22 input gear. So when we drop this in like this, it only fits one way. We know just by looking that there's the 20, and then the 28 is the bigger one right there. So that's going to go just like that. And then this is going to make it even easier, because that means this is a 54 and this is a 52. So they just drop right in like that. And that is 90% of a Stealth X at this point. We're going to go, pardon me, Luffy. Set him down right over here. We're going to go with the homemade blue goo. It's a nice periwinkle color. I had a cut. I do. There it is. Does anyone use a flux brush with its bristles at that full crazy length like that? Or do you do like I do and cut them way down? Now, I am a fan. I'm a big fan of CV joint grease. But the outputs on these are nylon. And that's where the stealth comes from. That's why, throwing back to when people ask, what do you think of the hardened outputs? The hardened outputs are completely unnecessary, because the hardened outputs are basically just going to move your point of failure to a different point in the stream. Then you've got to get the hardened intermediates, those guys, because otherwise you have hardened meshing with powder metal. That's not necessary. That's generally not a recipe for smooth sailing. This grease is very sticky. I just took a bunch of greases that I had and I mixed them all together into a pot, and it made that color. And it's been pretty effective. They're basically all lithium based, and if you're dealing with all plastic gears, you want to operate with a lithium-based lubricant. CV joint grease is a petroleum-based lubricant, which over a long enough service life will start to degrade plastics. If you're working with all metal gears in metal housings, etc., then never even worry about it for a moment. Just put your CV joint grease in there. There's nothing that can go wrong. And to be fully honest and transparent, I don't worry about it myself. I put CV joint grease in most everything. Where are you? Where are you, and why are you betraying me? Just in this instance, with a stealth, the quietness comes from those nylon outputs. It's a little bit of a chunky lad, because, you know, we do the thing where we have underdrive. And when I say that, I mean it properly. We have genuine underdrive in the gearbox, because the output gear to the rear is larger than the output gear to the front. So we are indeed underdriving the rear, because there are different ways of doing it. You can overdrive the front, or you can underdrive the rear. And if I have my choice, I will take underdriving every time, because it's gonna lower the vehicle's overall speed. No shims, and we've got that like millimeter. It's just well made. It is a testament and a testimonial to plastics, you know, just that there is absolutely a place for plastics, both in the housing and in the nylon outputs. And we stick to 48 pitch internals, so that's quieter. All right, this is going to get confusing here because we're using a couple different kinds of. Oh, those are the motor ones. All right, no, I take it back. We're good to go. I think it's easier to do this. So it goes, yeah. So this is like many other FMMs that we've seen. You want to assemble the back plate part, the part that mounts to the gearbox. You want that part done firstest. Let's do that hole. There's some little slots of confusion, let's call them. We got the speed lightning slots on there. Nothing goes into those slots. Everything goes into these holes. I don't know what those are for. And I'm not a huge fan of this particular type of slipper eliminators, but they're not the end of the road. And this bolts on just like this. It is simple and straightforward. You go in order, and then you fall in love with the Stealth Axe, and then you build 30 of them. I can't give you a number. I have no idea how many Stealth Axe gearboxes I've built, nor do I even have an idea of how many are currently in service in the fleet. But it is kind of a lot. And these are keyed, so you can just hold onto the gear plate while you tighten this down. Would I prefer a slipper on here? Sure. How centric? What do we got? Let's see. All that wobble, all that wobble is from these because they're molded. Didn't really make it any better. Your results will vary to the nth degree, because sometimes those things are just perfect. Like they just, and it's always when you've bought the factory team plates or some other apparatus, you go, well, just for giggles, let's see how well these line up. And then you go to line it up, and the thing is just perfectly centric, and you're like, oh my god. But I don't like the plastic ones, and they will most likely not be here for any amount of time. I am noticing conspicuously, and there are the two motor plate screws. And yep, 3x8 button head cap screw. And I mean, there's every chance in the world that it rolled away. But we're not going to look around for it for half an hour. We're going to take a 3x8 out of there. We're going to put it in. So, and also, while we're at it, why wouldn't you just countersink that one too? One wonders. Why wouldn't you? I would have thought countersunk on the back. Look how clean that looks. I mean, it doesn't need to be. So I guess what that boils down to ultimately is there are things that don't explicitly need be done. That's where quality of life stuff intervenes. And I believe I said it in the first installment, and if I did, I'm reinforcing, and if I didn't, I'm telling you outright. I don't consider the Comp Fox an option at its normal everyday price of $399.99. It's not. I would not recommend. It's too expensive. It is not ultimately competitive price-wise, primarily due to the fact that it has the element portals on it that are questionable. I love a Stealth X. The element shocks are excellent. We're going to have to make an attempt here. This is another Gearbox, and by that I mean with this FMM, which this is my first experience with the FMM. Finding the spot to mount this where the output wire I'm testing right now to see if the cap screws, the headed screws are too long, because on an Outrunner you can put the wire, you can put the screw directly into the wire. So if you are indeed mounting an Outrunner to this, pay close attention. Don't just hog the screws in, because you can undo your own good works before you've even noticed that you've done it. Again, ask me how I know. It's not way too long, but as you can see, you might want to dig your bins. Also, for anybody curious, as I said, this comes with an 18. And there was probably a set screw. Oh no. The A-Main reviews are now loudly echoing in my ears, where people are like, oh, it was missing this part, and it was missing that part, and it was missing this and or that. And I was like, how bad could it be? Am I right? If there very well may be a tiny little set screw in the bottom of that bag, but there also might not be. There's every chance under the sun that the people of the internet are absolutely correct, and this kit is missing pieces. Also, while we're complaining about uncontrollables, the position of the motor plate relative to the spur gear is going to inject a bunch of variability into how good your outcome is to where does your pinion line up to your spur, and then where does the set screw on your pinion gear land on the shaft. This is pretty good. It's probably not going to be the quietest thing we've ever heard, but because that's a Traxxas, instead of digging around for a set screw to drop in that 18, I just grabbed one of the 19s. I was a Traxxas Slash owner for many years, and the Traxxas Slash comes with a 19-tooth pinion, and therefore I have basically a drawer full 19-tooth pinions. Are they the best pinions in the world? No. Are they absolutely serviceable, unlike some others? Yes. I have also not ruled out the idea, notion, or possibility of running this vehicle brushed, because I feel like I'm having a miniature brushed renaissance. To the point where I just ordered another NHX Momentum 540 Plus 11 turn, because I still have a drawer full of Hobbywing 1080s. So we might run this thing brushed. And that is the only brushed motor that I will run. That being the Surpass Rocket 540 Plus, aka the NHX Momentum. There's a couple different ones that are maybe in different colors. They'll either be gold or blue. There's a dark, like a gunmetal gray sort of a color. Also, there's that 8 that we were missing. So it did indeed sneak past us into the drawer. And do I see a set screw. I will say, I don't see a set screw. Now, that set screw is the size of a flea, so it may well have just rolled away or stuck to something that has any kind of magnetism to it. We're not going to hold it against them. Also, there's your flat skid. Look at this. Here's how you get your angled skid, but you keep your gearbox level. Neat. Nice little machined piece, little machined out, and with that machined piece, I found the pertinent spot. 12s on this side, on the wide side, 14s on the narrow side. So it absolutely has the opportunity to do it to you, because that amount of length differential is enough for you to put the wrong screw right into the gearbox. 12 wide, 14 narrow. I'm just going to keep telling myself that, because what kind of... You can undo your own good works. Get this here. I assume that those screws are in one of the axle bags, so I'm not even going to go look for them. We're bouncing right now a little bit because I do not like that they. I appreciate winky cuteness. They call each building step a gate. This is gate 5, Links build bag 6. So at this point, the axles are attached to the chassis via their upper links. And I'm a lower link first kind of a guy. Now, we can't, it's a decent angle. We can't do that all the way. What? How? What? How? What? How? All right, I got to the point where I got confused. What? How? I'm going to say what, how a lot. I'm very confused right now. Okay. Oh, right. I'm getting slightly unconfused. I'm getting less confused by the moment. Yeah. So let me get a screw or two into this so that we can see where the motor would pop out. The lower links are held in place by set screws, which is wild. And in the cost saving category, I have to offer a shame on you element. And I don't mean an element of shame on you. I mean shame on you element. Check the right angles, the left and right sides. Image is not to scale. Okay. Do you want to know why that's offensive on a number of levels? Because from end to end, that's 93 millimeters long, and the whole length needs to be 121. Give me a pencil. Give me a pencil of unquenchable rage. Go right there. Does it look to anyone else like there's enough room in that manual to make the damn thing accurate to scale so that you can build your link and then just set it down on top of it? Look, you know what we don't need? We don't need all your nonsense. We don't need nonsense. Do I need this image to show me this dropping into here? Show me a cutaway of this much of the chassis with an arrow of that point in. Don't even do that. Like, because do you see where it's dropping in? Now do you see what holes I need to go into? The beauty here is that the camera can actually see the holes better than I can with the naked eye, because the naked eye doesn't have that kind of contrast. Also, set screw to the inside. I think then you dial the set screws all the way in, and then I'm guessing a screw is going to go over it to hold it in place. I'm not a huge fan of that. And the only reason I can assume they do that, let's jump forward here. Yes, is because then you attach the steel Comp Fox rock sliders. You attach those by putting big old flat head. They'll be in here. So again, just one mega screw in that bag. That's like a 50. So they've got big 3x16s with the big flat heads, and that's what you attach the sliders with. Why don't I like this, you ask? Well, because that relies on you yeah, so that hole is a through hole. Can I see through it? Yes, I can. I don't have any things slender and long enough to go all the way through that. I'd need like an airbrush needle. Needless, that is a full hole all the way through. So what they're relying on you doing is taking a pair of 16 millimeter set screws, which is 32 millimeters long total, and basically going to right about there. So going to right there. So you have every opportunity in the world to screw that thing all the way through to where it's fallen out, right? Because what will happen is, as the rod end with the hollow ball, here's one. Now give me an appropriate fastener. So this is threaded, and this is not, and this goes over here. And as this goes like this, it can actually perform like a wrenching action. So it will dial those set screws in until, where does 32 millimeters fall for us? So the middle of 32 millimeters is right there. It won't dial itself far enough in to where all of a sudden the rod end falls out, but it conceivably could, because where does 16 end? It would end about there. Now, those set screws should be 20s. Or you measure, like, go to about there, and then you add that 40. You can replace all of the nonsense right there with Traxxas, because Traxxas will allow you to buy bags of big M3x40s, which would then go through the slider, through the rail. Now that slider is pretty thin, so we'll just hold these up like this. And where does that go? Very nearly to the center. So a pair of a quartet of M3x40s will attach the whole skid down. Now, some people don't like the mechanism of, if I take the screw out to take the slider off, the links fall off. The set screws will keep the links retained, but then you have to take those off to take the slider off, and then the center chassis is not affixed to the chassis rails. So then that's going to fall out, and your drive shafts are going to come apart. And I understand that many people, when designing, engineering, building, whatever you might be doing, they're not thinking about what level of effort am I going to have to go through to maintain this vehicle. More doo-doo, I do that. I genuinely and truly think about that, because it's not like it's one and done. You just build it and then walk away. It's not a set it and forget it instance. More often than not, you're going to have it apart for repairs, modifications, or maintenance. And these are considerations. These are considerations. I have a crossroads here, which will allow me to blissfully allow you to go on your way, because the vehicle announced it is for a 324 millimeter wheelbase, which means I am going to have to replace at minimum 2 of the lower links. Also, what we have to take into consideration is where will this spacing be relative to where element spacing is? Because we're fitting this to a body. If we were building this for a cab, we'd have no issues. We would be well on our way. Because we'd be putting it in a cab and we would just be putting it on servo and axle. But we're not. We want to do chassis mounted steering, and I threatened it, so I'm going to make good on it. Let us see, because here's a crossroads. You get to be present for a crossroads. We'll start with element. We'll grab Vanquish because I have one for ES410, and then we'll grab element. Is it just backwards box? Nope, that's TRX4. Element. A little bit of advice for you in the future. You notice the differential in colors between those labels? If you are a fan of the label maker, let's be honest, who isn't? Buy a large multi-pack of the little rolls of ribbon for it. Just one color. Buy white labels or all blue label. I've got white, red, blue, yellow. It's infuriating. Dun, 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 dun. Looks like we might be going servo and axle, because this is the body mount / chassis brace. Let me guess. No. They really went their own way. So we would be uncomfoxing this thing to quite a degree. Oh, but we do have Vanquish. What are we talking about? They're basically all 72 millimeters wide. We also have Traxxas. We could do crosswise. That's a chassis brace. That's for the other kind. There it is. Ooh, if anything, that looks narrower. That's the same width. They're 72 millimeters. You could put spacers on it, but oh no. You can get at most 2 of the holes to line up. This chassis never anticipated. This is a chassis that was built without the anticipation of chest mount steering. I will give one last little look-see. Where did I put it? Yeah. We would have to drill multiple holes in the chassis to get a panhard mount on it. Comfox CMS, doable, but you've really got to go down your own avenue. So, what I will save you from is the building of 3 shocks. In episode 3, I will build one of them so that you can see how easily and wonderfully an Element Factory Team Shock goes together. I will have selected, through the arduous process of finding link, building link, finding link, building link, finding link, building link. The front links are factory. I don't have to worry about them. The rear links will have to be shortened 10 or so millimeters to get us to line up to the body. So we will do that. We will arduously dig out all of those. It's fun. It's super fun. And by that, I mean it is a process in which you deactivate the processing centers in your brain and you just repeat numbers over and over again because you know the link length. You know the link needs to be like 121 eye to eye or something. So you're just like, okay, then that means that I need a link that's about 100 millimeters long, shoulder to shoulder. I'm going to dig 100 millimeters, 100 millimeters, 100 millimeters, 100 millimeters. And you're gonna go through every link you own, sometimes more than once, in an attempt to find the link that you need. And it's not about it's unlike friendship. Selecting and building links is anti-friendship because it is not about the journey. It is 100% about the destination. You just want 4 links, 2 pairs of links that are the exact same length as one another that set your wheelbase to where you want your wheelbase to be. And when we decided to make this our class 1.5, the stretch of the class 1.5, because there may be an interstitial, a period that occurs here where I just think about it and sweat about it and fret about it. There's one more thing that we're going to look at then, and I will allow you to go with that. I want this to be chassis mounted steering. I want this to have a brushed motor in it because brushed is dead and I want to keep brushed alive. Wouldn't that bumper look great on like that Bronco? I have almost mentally landed on the Bronco. Is a Traxxas, it's the same width. So, do those holes line up? Oh, they do. Those holes line up with those holes in the chassis. If those holes line up with those holes in the chassis, you thought you were clear, didn't you? You thought you were free. You gotta bolt this to one side. It's not that difficult to build a shim, a single-sided shim, because that is, I'd say that's 3 millimeters. And I would shim this side to move the servo over further that way, and then find out that we did it the wrong way to get our panhard the way we wanted it to. So this is going to be the wrong hole. This is going to be a process. This is where assembly becomes build, because what I want to see is the placement of this basically cannot be finalized until we have all the front links built and we have the front axle sitting under the vehicle, because the relationship of the drag link to the axle and the relationship of the panhard to the drag link are, if not super critical, semi-critical. To me, even Canyon Class 1.5 calls for chassis mounted steering. It is precisely 3 millimeters spacing on that, which I have no problem with, because I happen to have aluminum or Kydex, because it's just a shim. It's just a shim. We can space that out. And then, if have to, because there's a hollow right there, or we can drill through and thread it into the aluminum and then drill a second hole right there. What are the odds that that panhard would line up right there? Well, it would be a dream. Maybe we'll be able to achieve that dream. So, is it guaranteed that it will be a transverse TRX4 style servo in the front? It is not, because we have not calipered the others to make sure that we're all working at about that 3 millimeter spacing. Because if you mess with this, now this isn't going to fit anymore, and a lot of things aren't going to fit anymore. So we will bend it to our will probably to the compromise of our own sanity. That is a recurring theme and pattern of the canyon. I don't think anyone would argue. I want it that way. I want it my way. And then once we get the front end bolted in, what we'll do is we'll revisit this and we'll say, can we put that NHX? I ordered the 11 on purpose. That's the highest turn count, and it's the highest speed, the lowest turn count that they make this motor in. This is the equivalent of about a 27 turn, 540, 25, 27 turn. So with the amount of gear reduction we're going to be looking at with this feeding me as portals, let's hope that that's brisk enough. But when I was looking at it, and I half mentioned a thought, it does indeed appear that you can fit a whopper of a pinion gear in there. You could probably fit like a 27 or 28 tooth pinion gear on there. We'll see if we make decisions against our own best interests. I think when we decided to put a 313 body on it instead of shopping for a 324, we actively operated against our own best interests. But we've got a Flanco in-house. We've got a Flex. I would love to run that Bronco on there. I want to get a whole array. I want to get at least 4 1.5s running in the fleet. And this, come hell or high water, is going to be one of them. So hopefully you come back and join us for other installments to follow to document the process of Class 1.5ing an Element Comfox, which, of course, if you'll remember, first and primarily involves not using its axles at all. I thought about straight axle and I was like, nah, I want to see Class 1 J-Concepts green on portals. And we'll get there probably like episode 5. Maybe 5 will be on the rocks. We'll see. You know what we do? We don't rush it, because this part is about the journey. It's not about the destination. It's not about the harrowing and arduous processes. It's about the friends we made along the way. So thanks, friends. Thanks for joining us here for this one. Joining us here for the next one. And in between now and then, please, one and all, do your very best. Have a good one, everybody. We will see you again here from the canyon. Class 1.5. I just figured it out right now. As I said, I looked to my side to see the black mirror. And I looked at these little guys and I thought, add it to the list. Got to have a driver. So we'll figure out a driver for this guy. We'll figure out a driver for that guy, the other 1.5. That means Rusty needs a driver too. Uh-oh. We've opened up a can of worms. Come on back to see the rest of these self-generated problems and how they propagate.